Hey Mama, welcome to the podcast. My name is Jocelyn Hillam and I am here excited to support you through a pregnancy. Welcome to week 5. Today we are going to jump into signs, symptoms, thoughts you can be thinking, or you may be thinking, thoughts to replace negative thoughts, and overall just what is going on and how to cope with some of the changes that pregnancy can bring. I feel that as you are more aware, it can help you to be more educated and also help yourself better than just staying stuck in misery, because sometimes pregnancy can be misery, and we are going to be getting into those weeks that were the hardest for me. So let's jump into today's episode and find out how to cope and what to be thinking about and the changes going on inside of you. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, host of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life, and I can help you. Thanks for joining. All right, congratulations. You have made it to week 5. It's always nice that pregnancy jumps into week 5. If you don't know it already, a full pregnancy goes to around 40 weeks. I did not realize that until I was pregnant with my first. I was always confused and annoyed that women didn't refer to it as what month they were on. It seemed so mentally annoying to try and figure out what week they were on by how far pregnant they were. But as you get used to the system, it makes more sense and you understand better doing it week by week. So week 5 is actually pretty similar to week 4. So if you listened to last week, a lot of the things can be pretty similar, other than you're probably pretty certain that your period is missed. For me, I didn't really feel a lot different in week 5. The differences started for me in week 6, which we're going to talk about next week, but this week we're still going to give you some of the tips. And I also want to just give you some things to be aware of what might be coming. Because that is useful in helping you to prepare not just you, but those within your home, your husband, and what might be needed if you work or you do schoolwork or anything like that. So during this time, though, it will be wise to start making some physical changes. And what I mean by physical changes is to eat healthier, to start increasing your protein take. Protein actually made a significant difference in helping me with my nausea during pregnancy. It was not easy mentally to do or even physically. Most of the time the protein sounded gross, but I felt a lot better when I stayed on top of that protein. And I think if you start earlier, you'll have a little bit of a consistent habit for when you hit the sick phase. Hopefully it won't be quite as bad for you. That you'll be able to deal with it a little bit better and just overall feel better because you have enough protein in you. So that's probably my first tip. My next tip would be to open your mind up to smaller, frequent meals. Annoyingly, with my 5th baby, I forgot about this tip until about 3 or 4 weeks into the sickness. I was just trying to do my typical 3 meals a day, maybe a snack after lunch, and call that good. But for nausea, that does not work, or at least for me, it did not work. If you eat small, frequent meals, it will make a difference. What I mean by that is you're going to basically be eating every 2 hours, just a little bit. Even if you get up in the night, I encourage you to eat something, because that can help the blood sugar levels in the night to regulate a little better. So small, frequent meals, prepare your mind for that. That makes a difference. And the next thing is you will probably start having foods or smells that trigger you, or you can't just be around at all. And you'll find that with each pregnancy, things can be different. So ironically enough, with my 5th pregnancy, which was my most recent, my baby's almost 10 months, I could not do anything sweet, which is not like me at all. I love sweet things. I have a sweet tooth, baked goods especially, but if it had any type of like sugar on it, it was revolting to me, which was so weird. And I wish it would have kind of stayed that way, but it didn't. But you will find things that trigger you. So stay away from the trigger foods and don't eat them. I used to think it was a good idea to have crackers when your tummy was feeling like a little nauseous or a little unsettled. But I'm more on the board with protein just because it made such a big difference. If you're able to get some type of source of protein, do that. And the next thing is to stay hydrated. During that first trimester, some can get so sick that it is so hard to stay hydrated. And if you don't stay hydrated, you get really sick, which can even, if you're like very sick and can't hold anything down, it can result in hospitalization or IV, anything that way. So if you are paying attention and trying to implement these things, hopefully it will help you a little bit when you start hitting the nausea phase. At this point, it's, like I said, similar to last week. You might have breast tenderness or enlargement. You may begin to feel some of the nausea or vomiting. You could be feeling tired. Maybe you need to go to the bathroom a little bit more. Some women can still have spotting or light bleeding. I never really had this, but it can happen. And as I mentioned last week, I have done a podcast episode on bleeding in pregnancy and also the food cravings or aversions. So those are a few things to be thinking about. Another thing that can help is a good vitamin. I've heard that our bodies can be low in magnesium, but if you have a magnesium supplement or vitamin, that can help as well. Mentally, at this point, you're probably still doing okay. At least I was. You're kind of still very excited about pregnancy, thinking about maybe if you haven't told your husband, thinking about ways to tell him. And it's still kind of exciting because you haven't been totally waylaid by the nausea. So this is a good week. Enjoy this week. I want to give a couple more tips and then we will see you again next week. So the next tip is to look into getting a provider. So start doing your research about the providers in your area. And what I mean by provider is finding yourself a doctor, like an OBGYN or a midwife. Find one that aligns with your goals, aligns with what you desire in pregnancy. Do you want to go more natural or do you want to have a C-section? I've had both. I've done natural, I've had a C-section, I've done the epidural, I've done without the epidural. And I have found different providers for those different pregnancies that aligned with my desires. One good way to do this is to ask around. Ask your friends and family in the area who they have gone to, who they have liked, what their experiences was. And I do also ask if they've had bad experiences. I don't necessarily always ask that they tell me about their bad experience, but depending on the situation, I just ask who to kind of stay away from as well, because my health is very important to me and also the health of my baby. And so I want to know what is going to be good or not good. And those people who take care of you during pregnancy matter a lot. So use your intuition when it comes to this point. If you do have some nausea, another tip is fresh air. Fresh air can help, and I will dive more into that a little bit more with week 6, but for those of you beginning to feel that already, that is something that also you can be aware of. Prepare that as morning sickness starts, that it can be a little tough on your marriage. Now, there's not going to be any problems, but it's hard. It can be a tough season, and I will also give you tips on how to get through that. So just preparing your mind for some of these things I think can be so helpful. I was like lost my first time. I am the oldest. I'm the oldest cousin on both sides. I just didn't have anyone real close that I wanted to discuss this stuff with, although I'm sure there were many that would have. I was just kind of like, I'll muddle through and figure this out by myself. And so many things I wish I would have known or learned from others or allowed myself to learn from others that could have greatly helped me to improve my pregnancy and my relationships along the way and my mindset. So you are in the right place, joining and trying to figure this out, but also allow yourself to learn from others and keep that in mind. So we will join together again next week, and we will be getting into more of the stuff to get you through the morning sickness, as this week for likely most of you still hasn't hit too bad yet. Thank you for listening. Thank you for implementing, and we will talk again next week. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts for a better you in a positive pregnancy, in losing that stubborn baby weight, and becoming the mom you desire to be through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. I can help you find the small, doable steps without drastic changes to your everyday mom life. Reach out, let's connect, and let's see you move forward. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time.